Andrew Urquhart with you on this day, the 4th of September, and the Tangi for Kīngi Tūheitia continues at his marae Tūrangawaewae in Ngāruawāhia, a significant figure in Māoridom, and people of all political stripes and representations of different faiths and different communities and international visitors to the marae. It's all unfolding today. Looking at this through a political lens now, our political commentator, Dr. Bryce Edwards. Bryce, kia ora, thank you so much for your time today.
Morena, Andrew.
This is significant, and we have seen so many political gatherings at Tūrangawaewae over the years, and even this year, with King Tūheitia presiding, in some ways very much a peacemaker, a moderate voice, some would say?
Definitely he's being seen as one of the more unifying Māori leaders. And so I think it's quite spectacular to see how much the Kīngi movement and the late King are really being celebrated, commemorated, and taken much more seriously than in the past.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this institution is a kind of a peculiar one to Te Ao Māori. It's one that, hasn't ever been seen as representing the whole of Māoridom, and it relates only to certain tribes.
Yep.
And there's a bit of ambiguity about to what extent the king was ever sort of seen as some sort of representative of the movement.
Mm-hmm.
But all that's been put aside, and I think we're seeing a big change, that is a lot more sort of reverence for the institution, not just amongst Māori or Pākehā, but both. And so certainly if you're looking at the national broadcasters, RNZ, TVNZ, they've covered this very seriously. And it kind of just shows, well, it just has grown in parallel with the growth of, I guess, Māori politics and the Māori world kind of into Pākehā society, I guess.
A little bit of a balancing act, or perhaps even a tightrope of, yes, there's many political figures that are going to be at the marae today. Lots of speeches given, but I suppose caution to not get too political on this, to make this about honouring King Tūheitia and not about political point scoring with their rivals, perhaps.
Yeah, that's entirely true. There is so much politics in this, and and obviously the political environment at the moment is just really sensitive about what you might call race relations, treaty relations. But even within Māoridom, there's lots of political issues between tribes and so forth. So there's just so much politics. But yes, it'll be frowned upon if anyone oversteps that mark. So, like, I'm sort of suggesting that I don't think it's totally apolitical there at the moment. There are a lot of speeches that are being made about his politics and his political achievements. And I think at the Tangi, there is a lot of politics going on behind the scenes, but there's a sensitivity about not making it too petty and sort of abrasive. And so, yeah, when the leaders are there today and for the final ceremony tomorrow, I think the leaders from Parliament are going to be especially careful, and they'll put aside some of their more partisan and petty sort of orientations.
Certainly significant turnouts, as I say, from all of the political parties. Perhaps most significant, though, an invitation to David Seymour to be present on the marae. Now, he was at Waitangi, but I don't think he was at Ratana, and certainly hasn't been invited to Tūrangawaewae this year, given some of the concern about his treaty principles bill and huge pushback across Māoridom to that. He is invited to the marae. He is invited to the Tangi. I mean, that in itself is significant.
Oh, look, absolutely. In theory, there's no reason why he shouldn't be. And with this being a relatively apolitical event, I don't think it would be possible for him not to be invited. But it's going to be fascinating to see if there is any dropping of the facade of niceness, and there might be, I think, particularly from some people that are angry about his treaty principles bill, might confront him, but I think there's a way that these things end up being dealt with appropriately. And you have to remember that David Seymour himself is Maori. He's from the northern tribe, I forget suddenly, Naipui. And so he knows the politics very well of what's going on.
And, appropriate tikanga for there to be some challenge, some wero happening at that event, but perhaps toned down slightly from what it would be on a different occasion, perhaps. Somebody else who's had a good telling off in this last week is, another Māori MP, Shane Jones. He's crossed some lines between, I suppose, the separation of Parliament and the judiciary, and, he's done a full mea culpa on this one, perhaps.
Yeah, I don't know if I saw the full mea culpa. Yes, maybe the mostly mea culpa. Yes, of course. I mean, this is an important principle, and it might sound a bit arcane and constitutional, but there's good reasons that we're not supposed to have fights between the elected politicians and the appointed judges. They've got their own spheres of areas that they run the country on, and for good reason. You don't want them sort of arguing and disputing really what the other's doing.
Now, Shane Jones crossing the line referred to a member of the judiciary as a communist, and apparently they did have connections with a socialist group back when they were a university student, although Shane Jones himself's got a bit of a murky past. If you don't have to dig too far for that one.
Yeah. Look, to give Shane Jones's defence, he referred to this judge as the communist judge in a private meeting with officials and other members of the public. It was a small meeting. I don't think he was expecting notes to be taken on exactly what he said. So he wasn't going out there and giving a big public speech berating this judge. And from his point of view, he was being descriptive rather than condemning her, because, yes, as you say, she was a member of a socialist organisation, the Socialist Action League, and she was for many years, and she was quite a serious sort of activist in that. And this is on public record, and it is quite an interesting case, how she's gone from being, essentially a revolutionary to being a judge. But yes, it comes back to the fact that politicians do have to be careful, especially ministers, in saying something that could be interpreted as a slight or, and so Judith Collins has reminded him of this, and Winston Peters has come in on the side of Judith Collins. So, sorry, I should mention Judith Collins has the role of the Attorney General in government. And that means that she has to make sure that things are properly, constitutionally followed. And so, she's been sufficiently strong on this, and Winston Peters has, accepted that and also told off Shane Jones.
And now apparently with Shane Jones's 65th birthday yesterday, so he thanked Winston Peters for the gold card and Judith Collins for the kick up the backside. Both well deserved, I'm sure. And Shane Jones himself, of course, will be part of the New Zealand First group attending the Tangi of Kīngi Tūheitia at Tūrangawaewae today. So quite the week for Shane Jones in one way or another. Bryce, thank you for your commentary as always. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Andrew.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.